Today we will discuss on cell injury and adaptations. This chapter has already been taught to you earlier, but today I will revise the important points once again. What is homeostasis? Homeostasis means normal cell. The cell in normal healthy condition is in homeostatic condition. So healthy state of cell is called homeostasis. What is the difference between a normal cell and an injured cell? As in the schematic diagram you can see, a normal cell is in homeostasis. But if there is stress, then the cell will try to adapt, that is adaptation. And if there is any injurious stimulus to the cell, then there will be cell injury. And if the adaptation is not working, means the cell is not able to adapt to the stress, then also there will be cell injury. Now, cell injury is of two types. One is reversible and the other is irreversible. So, what is irreversible injury and reversible injury? So, if the stimulus that is causing injury to the cell, that is such that which is mild, means the injury is mild, then the cell can adjust to the stimulus and it will revert back to the normal healthy state. That is called irreversible cell injury. But in some cases, the injury is severe and progressive. In that case, the cell cannot revert back to the normal condition. So, then there will be irreversible cell injury, and which will lead to cell death. So, irreversible cell injury is of two types, as you know, necrosis and apoptosis. Now, as I told you, just revising the points, cell injury is reversible up to a point, but if the injury is severe or progressive, then the cell will suffer irreversible cell injury and ultimately it will go to cell death. So, adaptation, reversible cell injury and cell death. These are the three progressive ways in which the cell suffers. When the cell suffers from injury, it is the three steps which goes on in a cell. Now, if the adaptive responses are such that it is exceeded, or the cell is exposed to repeated damaging insults, means repeated injuries occurring in the cell, or the cell is deprived of some important nutrients. For the cell's sustenance, we need important nutrients. So, if all these are not happening, then the sequence of events that follows, it is called cell injury. Now, what are the causes of cell injury? So, number one is hypoxia, means deprivation of oxygen by reducing the aerobic oxidative respiration. So, hypoxia is a very important condition of cell injury. Next is physical agents. There are many physical agents which can cause stress injury, like mechanical trauma, then extremes of temperature, very hot or very cold, radiation, changes in atmospheric pressure, as well as electric shock. So these are the physical effects which can cause cell injury. Next is chemical agents. Chemical agents like such as glucose or salt, when it is hypertonic, means the concentration of glucose or salt in the cell is very high, that causes cell injury. Also, oxygen concentration is very high, that will be also be toxic. And there are some poisons which cause cell injury, like arsenic, cyanide, mercury. Within minutes of exposure to those toxins, there will be cell death. Next is infectious agents. Infectious agents can be viruses, rickettsia, bacteria, fungi, parasites. All this can cause cell injury. And immunologic reactions. Immunologic reactions means like viruses and other environmental substances, they can also produce immune reactions in the cell which can lead to cell and tissue injury. There are some genetic conditions in which the cell may suffer from injury, like deficient protein functions such as enzyme defects in inborn errors of metabolism, or accumulation of damaged DNA or misfolded proteins. In these cases, the cell cannot repair itself and eventually there will be cell death. Nutritional imbalances are also a major cause of cell injury, especially in case of low socioeconomic conditions. We can see that protein calorie malnutrition, the deficiencies are also a cause of cell injury. Now, what is reversible cell injury? Reversible cell injury is characterized by functional and structural alterations in early stages. Injury, the reaction is mild and it is correctable if the damaging stimulus, means the factor which is causing cell injury, if we remove the stimulus, then it is reversible. Reversible means the cell will return back to the original healthy state. So there are two features which we will find in reversible cell injury, like early alterations in reversible cell injury. As you can see, generalized swelling of the cell and its organelles, blebbing of plasma membrane. Blebbing means the membrane is swollen. Next, detachment of ribosomes from the endoplasmic reticulum and clumping of nuclear chromatin. So you must know what are the early alterations in reversible injury. And swelling of cells result from influx of water. So this is usually caused by failure of the ATP sodium potassium plasma membrane pump due to depletion of ATP resulting from oxidation deficiency, which interferes with mitochondrial oxidative phosphorylation. So these are the features of reversible injured cells. So here is a diagram in which we can see early reversible ischemic injury showing the surface blebs, increased eosinophilia of the cytoplasm and swelling of the cells. The cells are swollen. So fatty change can also occur in cell injury. When the injury is toxic, then the metabolic pathways are disrupted and it leads to accumulation of triglyceride filled lipid vacuoles in the cell. Now coming to cell death. Cell death, as I said, is irreversible. So irreversible cell injury causes cell death and it is of two types. One is necrosis and the other is apoptosis. So this is a schematic diagram in which you can see that the cell injury is resulting in necrosis or apoptosis. Here this is a normal cell. So if there is reversible injury, there is swelling of the endoplasmic reticulum and mitochondria and formation of myelin figures. And see the membrane blebs. So as I told you, there will be blebbing of the plasma membranes. These are the membrane blebs. If the injury is progressive, then there will be necrosis. And in this case, here we can see there is condensation of chromatin, formation of membrane blebs, then cellular fragmentation, formation of apoptotic body, and finally phagocytosis. So this is the schematic diagram of apoptosis. Now what is necrosis? Necrosis is a pathologic process that results as a form of severe injury. So what are the causes? The causes, as I told you, loss of oxygen then exposure to microbial toxins, then burns and other forms of chemical and physical injury, and unusual situations in which the protease, it leaks out from the cell and damages the surrounding cells and tissues. Necrosis is characterized by, this is very important, you should know, denaturation of cellular proteins, leakage of cellular contents through damaged membranes, means the membranes are damaged, so the cellular contents will leak out from the cell. Next is inflammation, local inflammations, means the surrounding areas around the cell, it is inflamed, and enzymatic digestion of the injured cell. Necrotic shows, as I showed you in the previous picture, increased eosinophilia, means the cytoplasm is intensely eosinophilic, and this is due to loss of cytoplasmic RNA and also due to accumulation of denatured cytoplasmic proteins. So the necrotic cells gives a glassy homogeneous appearance, means pinkish. Necrosis means the appearance will be pinkish due to eosinophilia and as a result of loss of glycogen particles. So the dead cells may be replaced by phospholipid precipitates, which are called myelin figures, and which are either phagocytosed or it may be degraded further into fatty acids. So this is an image of necrosis of epithelial cells. There is loss of nuclei, fragmentation of cells and leakage of the cellular contents. So nuclear changes is very important in case of necrosis. You should know the three terms: karyolysis, pycnosis and karyohexis. So what is karyolysis? Karyolysis means loss of DNA because of enzymatic degradation by endonuclease. So that is karyolysis. What is pycnosis? It is nuclear shrinkage, means the nucleus will become very small and there will be condensation of the chromatin. And the third is karyohexis, means the nucleus, the pycnotic nucleus, means the condensed nucleus that will undergo fragmentation. So within 1 or 2 days, the nucleus in the necrotic cell, it will ultimately disappear. Now, all of you know about the types of necrosis. Coagulative necrosis you have heard, then liquefactive necrosis, caseous necrosis, fibrinoid necrosis. So this is just a revision of the points. So coagulative necrosis, it is a form of necrosis. It has a firm texture and it occurs in many organs except in brain. In brain, can you tell me that which kind of necrosis occurs? Liquefactive necrosis occurs in brain. And caseous necrosis, can anybody say where can we find caseous necrosis? Lungs, means in case of formation of granuloma. So in tuberculous lymphadenitis we can see caseous necrosis. So as I told you that liquefactive necrosis, it results in characterized by digestion of dead cells, means the tissue is converted into a viscous liquid, and this is commonly found in case of infarcts in brain. Caseous necrosis, you also learnt in practical class about tuberculous lymphadenitis, and I showed you the images also. You have seen the slides that how caseous necrosis, how a granuloma looks like, and there you have seen caseous necrosis. Next is fat necrosis. So fat necrosis occurs in acute pancreatitis. You have to remember the condition acute pancreatitis. It refers to areas of fat destruction resulting from release of activated pancreatic lipase into the substance of the pancreas and the peritoneal cavity. So this is fat necrosis. gangrenous necrosis, and coming to fibrinoid necrosis. So fibrinoid necrosis, there is vascular damage, means the blood vessels are damaged. In that case, the complex of antigens or antibodies are deposited on the walls of the arteries. So here we will find fibrinoid deposits, formation of immune complexes on the walls of the arteries. So this is a microscopic view of an infarct of a normal kidney. This is a normal kidney, and there is the necrotic cells in the infarct showing preserved cellular outlines, loss of nuclei, inflammatory infiltrate, as seen nuclei of inflammatory cells in between the necrotic tubules. So these are the areas of necrosis, this pink color, eosinophilic area, pinkish area, these are areas of necrosis. Now coming to apoptosis. Apoptosis, as I said, it is also a irreversible type of cell injury, another type of cell death in which the cells die, the intrinsic enzymes get activated and degrades the DNA of the cells. So in that case, the nuclear and cytoplasmic proteins also get degraded. So the apoptotic cells break up into plasma membrane bound fragments. These are called apoptotic bodies, which contain portions of nucleus and cytoplasm. So what are the causes of apoptosis? So apoptosis can occur in physiologic conditions as well as in pathologic conditions. So death by apoptosis is a normal phenomenon that serves to eliminate cells. Now our body does not need all the cells. So some cells which are injured and the body doesn't need it. So those cells are eliminated from the body by apoptosis. And it is a mechanism to maintain the constant number of cells. It is in the physiologic conditions, apoptosis will occur, that is the removal of supernumerary cells, means excess number of cells during development which our body doesn't need. So in that case, apoptosis occurs. Then involution of hormone dependent tissues on hormone withdrawal, such as endometrial cell breakdown during the menstrual cycle, ovarian follicular atresia in menopause, and regression of the breast after weaning. So these are the physiological conditions of apoptosis. Next, cell turnover in proliferating cell populations like immature cells in the bone marrow and thymus, and B lymphocytes in germinal centers that fail to express useful antigen cells. So those are also eliminated by apoptosis, and the cell finally returns to homeostatic conditions. Elimination of potentially harmful self-reactive lymphocytes to prevent immune reactions. So self-reactive lymphocytes which cause harm to the body, those are also eliminated by apoptosis. Now coming to apoptosis in pathologic conditions. Apoptosis eliminates cells that are injured beyond repair, means the injured cell cannot be repaired. So in those cases, those pathologic conditions, apoptosis occurs. Like in case of DNA damage, radiation and cytotoxic anti-cancer drugs, means the patients who are suffering from cancer, they undergo chemotherapy or radiotherapy. In those cases, the radiation and cytotoxic anti-cancer drugs, they cause DNA damage and the cells are eliminated by apoptosis. Then misfolded proteins, when the cell death, means the injury causes accumulation of improperly folded intracellular proteins. So in that case, the endoplasmic reticulum undergoes ER stress, endoplasmic reticulum stress. In that cases also apoptosis will occur. It can also occur during certain infections, especially viral infections. So this phenomenon of apoptosis is also called programmed cell death. programmed cell death, it is controlled by certain number of genes. So, what are the morphological changes during apoptosis? So, cell shrinkage means the size of the cell is reduced and there will be condensation of chromatin. The cytoplasm will be dense and eosinophilic. Chromatin condensation is the most characteristic feature of apoptosis. So, if you are asked in exam what is the most important feature of apoptosis, you will say chromatin condensation. So, the chromatin aggregates under the nuclear membrane into dense masses. Formation of cytoplasmic blebs and apoptotic bodies. This I have already showed you the picture earlier of apoptotic body, and there will be finally phagocytosis of the apoptotic cells by macrophages. Now this is a very nice chart of difference between necrosis and apoptosis. See, cell size. In necrosis the cell will be enlarged, but in apoptosis the cell size will be reduced. Nucleus. In necrosis there will be pycnosis, karyorrhexis, karyolysis, but in apoptosis there will be fragmentation into fragments. Then plasma membrane. In necrosis the plasma membrane will be disrupted, but in case of apoptosis plasma membrane is intact. Cellular contents, there will be leakage in case of necrosis, but in apoptosis the cellular contents will be intact. Inflammation. In necrosis there will be inflammation of the surrounding areas, but in apoptosis there will be no adjacent inflammation. Finally, physiologic or pathologic role. So necrosis is usually pathologic, but apoptosis is mostly physiologic, and sometimes it also occurs in pathologic conditions as well. Now this is apoptosis of an epidermal cell in immune reaction. See, the cell size is reduced and bright eosinophilic cytoplasm, and the nucleus is condensed. Apoptosis results from activation of enzymes called caspases. Now there are two distinct pathways of caspase activation. One is the mitochondrial pathway. You have to know the names. Mitochondrial pathway and the death receptor pathway. So the mitochondrial pathway is the intrinsic pathway. In this case, it results from increased permeability of the mitochondrial outer membrane with release of pro-apoptotic molecules from the mitochondrial intermembrane space into the cytoplasm. The extrinsic death receptor initiated pathway of apoptosis, it occurs due to engagement of plasma membrane death receptors, and this death domain is essential for delivering apoptotic signals. The intrinsic and extrinsic pathways, finally, they converge to activate a caspase cascade that mediates the final or the execution phase of apoptosis. Now, for the cell injury portion, the key concepts are ATP depletion, failure of energy dependent functions, reversible injury, necrosis. Mitochondrial damage, ATP depletion, failure of energy dependent cellular function, ultimately necrosis. Increased permeability of cellular membranes may affect the plasma membrane, lysosomal membrane, mitochondrial membrane, ultimately terminating in necrosis. Accumulation of damaged DNA and misfolded proteins causes apoptosis. Accumulation of ROS means reactive oxygen species. It also triggers apoptosis. And misfolded protein, as I told you earlier, misfolded protein response or the endoplasmic reticulum stress, ER stress, it also triggers apoptosis. Now coming to adaptations. Adaptations are reversible changes, means when there is a cell injury, the cell will try to revert back to the normal conditions. So that is called adaptation. So adaptation are reversible changes in size, number, phenotype, metabolic activity or function of cell in response to changes in their environment. So can you name a few adaptations? So the adaptations are, as you have studied earlier, hypertrophy, atrophy, metaplasia, hyperplasia. So all these are different types of adaptations that occur in a cell. So hypertrophy means increase in size of cells and results in an increase in the size of the affected organ. So hyper result of increased cellular protein production. Next is pathologic hypertrophy. Pathologic hypertrophy means the striated muscle cells in the heart. So, and skeletal muscles, they have limited capacity for division, but they respond to increased metabolic demands, means when the body's need is much, so due to increased demand, there will be hypertrophy of the cardiac muscles and the skeletal muscles. So the most common stimulus for hypertrophy is increased workload, that is increased demand. Physiologic hypertrophy, this is, all of you know that when during pregnancy there is physiologic growth of the uterus. It is a very good example of hormone induced enlargement of an organ that results from hypertrophy of the smooth muscle fibers. So the uterine hypertrophy is stimulated by estrogen hormone and the bulging muscles of bodybuilders. So the bodybuilders have hypertrophy of their muscles due to enlargement of skeletal muscle in response to increased demand. Next is hyperplasia. Hyperplasia means increase in number of cells in an organ or tissue in response to stimulus, that is hyperplasia, means number of cells are increased. So it is the result of growth factor driven proliferation of mature cells and in some cases by increased output of new cells from tissue stem cells. So there is physiological hyperplasia, which due to action of hormones or growth factors when there is need of increased functional capacity of hormone sensitive organs. So hormonal hyperplasia, it is found in proliferation of glandular epithelium of female breast at puberty or during pregnancy, that is hormonal hyperplasia, means due to effect of hormones. Another example of hyperplasia is compensatory hyperplasia. It occurs in liver regeneration, means when there is regeneration of liver cells, that is called compensatory hyperplasia. Next is pathologic hyperplasia. So pathologic hyperplasia is caused by excessive or inappropriate growth action of hormones or growth factors on target cells. So endometrial hyperplasia is an example of abnormal hormone-induced hyperplasia. Endometrial hyperplasia occurs due to increased effect of hormone estrogen that causes endometrial hyperplasia. Now the next adaptation is atrophy. What is atrophy? It is the reduction in size of an organ or tissue. It results from decreased protein synthesis and increased protein degradation. And this degradation occurs by ubiquitin proteasome pathway. Atrophy can be physiologic as well as pathologic. So physiologic atrophy is common, as I told you, when the body doesn't need the excess number of cells during normal development, then the body eliminates those cells. That is called physiologic atrophy. And pathologic atrophy, it can be local or generalized. So what are the causes of atrophy? One is disused atrophy. When the fracture bone is immobilized in plaster cast, the patient cannot use the body part. That is called disused atrophy. Due to means the patient is unable to move the body part, so cannot use it. So that is called disused atrophy. Next is denervation atrophy. So damage to the nerve leads to atrophy of muscle fibers due to the injured nerve. So the nerves which are supplying those muscle fibers, they are denervated, means cut off. So the muscle fibers are not receiving the nerve supply. That is called denervation atrophy. Next is diminished blood supply. It causes senile atrophy. So a gradual decrease in blood supply to a tissue, as in arterial occlusive disease, it causes senile atrophy. Then inadequate nutrition like protein calorie malnutrition. A common condition is marasmus. It causes atrophy. Marked muscle wasting occurs. Loss of endocrine stimulation. After menopause, there is decrease of the hormone estrogen. So at that time, the loss of estrogen stimulation results in atrophy of the uterus, vagina, breast. So that is called endocrine atrophy. Next is pressure atrophy. So tissue compression for a long time, if it occurs, it causes atrophy in the surrounding tissue. That is pressure atrophy. Next, the last adaptation which we will discuss today is metaplasia. So what is metaplasia? It is a reversible change in which one differentiated cell type is replaced by another cell type. Means in metaplasia there is always a replacement of one kind of epithelium by another epithelium. The most common epithelial metaplasia is columnar to squamous. So it occurs in respiratory tract in response to chronic irritation. Like in habitual cigarette smoker, what happens? The normal columnar epithelial cells are replaced by stratified squamous epithelial cells. This is very important. You have to say this in your exam if asked, that what is the most common epithelial metaplasia? That is replacement of columnar epithelial cells in trachea and bronchi by stratified squamous epithelial cells. So in the respiratory tract, this is called epithelial metaplasia. Next is metaplasia from squamous to columnar. It occurs as in case of Barrett's esophagus. So in Barrett's esophagus, the replacement is from squamous to columnar, in which esophageal squamous epithelium replaced by intestinal like columnar epithelial cells due to refluxed gastric acid. So these two types, one is columnar to squamous and other one is squamous to columnar, you have to remember. So metaplasia does not result from change in phenotype, but it results from reprogramming of local tissue stem cells or colonization by differentiated cell populations from adjacent site. Means it is replacement of one cell by another cell. So the key concepts of adaptation are hypertrophy. There we will find increased cell and organ size. Means here the size matters. Hypertrophy means size is involved. There is increase in cell, organ and size. Often in response to increased workload induced by growth factors produced in response to mechanical stress or other stimuli. It may be physiologic or pathologic. Hyperplasia, it is increased cell number. So hypertrophy is cell size and hyperplasia is increased cell number in response to hormones or other growth factors. It occurs in tissues where the cells are able to divide or contain abundant tissue stem cells. It may be physiologic or pathologic. And there will be secretion of hormones as in endometrial hyperplasia. Next is atrophy. In atrophy, there will be decreased. So hypertrophy is increased, atrophy is decreased. Decrease in cell organ and cell size due to decreased nutrient supply or disuse. And it is also associated with decreased synthesis of cellular building blocks and increased breakdown of cellular organelles. Finally, what are the key important points of metaplasia? There is change in phenotype of differentiated cells, often in response to chronic irritation, as in case of habitual smoker. I told you there is change in epithelium from columnar to squamous, and it is usually induced by altered differentiation pathway of tissue cells and may result in reduced functions or increased propensity for malignant transformation. Malignant transformation is common in case of Barrett's esophagus. This kind of metaplasia is important. You should remember that Barrett's esophagus may transform into esophageal carcinoma. So, adaptations are reversible functional and structural responses to changes in physiologic state, some pathologic stimuli. It consists of hypertrophy, hyperplasia, atrophy, metaplasia. So if the stress is eliminated, if there is no stress, the stress is removed, the injury causing stimulus is removed, the cell can return to original state without having any harmful consequences like cell death or reversible cell injury. Thank you.